So here's the assignment. So Rhetorical Precis is a 4-sentence summary of an article that accurately and briefly represents the author's argument, method of development, support, purpose, and relationship to audience. So this is very strong academic language, but I want you guys to be really cognizant of your writing here. So you're going to, in the first, see how it breaks down each sentence, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each sentence is going to have all of this information in. Your sentences are going to be long. Your sentences are going to be a bit wordy. So although I want you paying attention to your writing, I know that your sentences might be, 3 sentences long or 3 lines long for one sentence. So for your first sentence, you're going to have the name of the author. You might have a phrase describing the author, genre, the title of the work, the date in the parentheses, a rhetorically accurate verb, and that's why I gave you the active verb for discussing ideas. And remember when we talked about accurate verbs, the goal is not to just throw a word in there in order to make yourself sound smarter. The goal is for me to understand as your audience, are you reading this source correctly? So is this author arguing? Is the author maybe implying something? Are they claiming something that you're a bit skeptical on? Using the right word tells me that as a reader, you're really understanding this text. So strong verb and then a that clause with the major assertion, which is their thesis. Like, what are they saying? What are they claiming? Your second sentence is going to be an explanation of how the author develops or supports the thesis in chronological order. So how do they lay it out in the essay? How do they lay it out in their TED Talk? What did they start with? What did they go with second? What did they go with third? I find students are successful in the second one when they use those simple transitions like first, second, next, finally. And then your third sentence is going to be a statement of the author's purpose. What was the goal of the author in writing this? So a peer-reviewed journal, I think, is the easiest because you know in this journal that they are writing to other people, typically in their research area, but they're also writing to the academic world. But something like a YouTube video, who is their audience? Why are they putting this out into the world? What is their purpose? Or you can look at something like a trade book, which is something that they're writing for a wider audience. However, it's probably going to be an educated audience. It's also probably going to be a mixed audience of different backgrounds. So you want to think about who is their audience, why are they writing this? And then the 4 is the description of that audience. So like I said, if you're reading to peer reviewed, it's pretty easy. But if you're looking to other kind of sources out there, you're going to have to really think, who are they writing to? What was their purpose? Were you the intended audience? Because sometimes, absolutely, as an academic researcher, you were. But sometimes you might have dove into things that weren't necessarily part of the audience, and that's interesting to think about. So I do have an example here, and I have 2 other examples linked for you to make sure it's really clear. So here you see, and this one is double spaced, so please ignore that. My other example is mine that I have developed, so it looks exactly like I want it to. So this one has the first sentence, David Yeager in his master's thesis, developing a miniature atmospheric engine with an autonomous reciprocating. So this is the title of it, right? And then this is date, shows that a regenerator can be actuated with magnets to resemble an ideal concept of operation that's uniquely graphic glass piston cylinder set can withstand long duration operation. Super long, right? So you have your author, you have his purpose, you get this. How does he do it? He develops this idea by first establishing the concept, then doing this, then doing that, right? His purpose is to help engineers. This is a peer-reviewed source. Consideration in small-scale engines. How does he do this? He establishes an informal relationship. So when you're watching a TED Talk, it's not informal. In fact, TED Talks are much more kind of personal. The person's kind of talking to you. They usually use like an anecdote to break the ice, whereas a peer-reviewed resource like this one, it's going to be very different. In the assignment as well, I also gave you OSU's website, which I think will be also helpful because 121, we're preparing you for college. So this is OSU's and what they're asking. So here it has kind of the comments embedded. I like this one because it's kind of interactive. So it's saying, look, it has the exact same format. So this is not just something we're doing here at Sunset, it's happening all over. So again, first sentence, author, rhetorically accurate verb, right, a that clause. Explanation of how the author develops, coherent sentence, how this author's purpose, and then intended audience. So this one has a different example, and you can kind of click on each one and it'll remind you like, hey, make sure you start with the author's name. This is describing blah, blah, blah. These background details are relevant, blah, 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 blah. So hopefully these two things will help you. And I will also pull up, I'm sorry I didn't do it already. I will also pull up my Google Docs of my Rhetorical Precis that I will show you here. There we go. So this one I have made for you, and this one is a little bit, I think, better formatted because I know we've been working on that. So here has the exact same example of what I've been talking about. And then on the back, it shows, right, double spaced, annotated bibliography, inquiry question, tentative thesis. It has your work cited. And then it has kind of the 4 sentences, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no need to number the sentences, but you do see how it's kind of like paragraphed out for each of them. So these will be physically long.